This video contains disturbing and violent content. Viewer discretion advised.
The SCP Foundation is a secret organization of scientists who are devoted to collecting and containing all the supernatural objects and creatures in the world for the sake of protecting the rest of mankind from them. SCP stands for Special Containment Procedures, and their unofficial motto is Secure, Contain, Protect.
In the case of this video, buildings and structures contained by the SCP Foundation.
The Foundation often uses D-Class personnel to handle and experiment extremely hazardous objects and anomalies. These people tend to be prison inmates convicted of violent crimes, especially those on death row. In times of duress, the Foundation will even use political prisoners, refugee populations, and ordinary civilians as alternative sources of D-Class personnel.
SCP-083 Object Class Euclid. SCP-083 appears to be an uninhabited two-story row house in a general state of disrepair, with an interior of approximately 366 square meters. It's located in the The deed and property tax records for the address are missing. The last known persons to reside at the address were the family, but unfortunately, the family had disappeared for unknown reasons. Until acquisition by the Foundation, the property was the reputed office for local narcotics dealers who gained entry to the structure through a front window, since the locking mechanisms on both front and back doors were corroded and frozen shut. SCP-083 first came to the Foundation's attention when an altercation outside the building resulted in the front door being kicked in by a member of the public. Those who entered through the door of SCP-083 allegedly found themselves inside a fully furnished and well-maintained home with functioning electricity and a fully stocked kitchen whose appliances and decor appeared to be from the early 20th century. Personnel who entered through the windows described the interior as dark and dilapidated, corresponding to the view through the windows. Personnel in Group A also reported that they couldn't see, hear, or find any members of Group B inside the house or of anyone else besides themselves. Group B observed that members of Group A seemed to vanish into thin air upon crossing the door's threshold. Both groups inside the property not only described very different living conditions, but their descriptions didn't even correspond to the same floor plan. Their descriptions matched only in the relative position of the windows, since both groups saw the same street view. These observations were repeatedly tested and confirmed by staff, with the additional finding that the rear door of SCP-083 also leads to the furnished interior. Any non-conventional entry, i.e. windows, holes in the roof, down the chimney, leads to the dilapidated interior, and persons inside the different interiors are unable to detect each other's presence, although they both register on standard spectral imaging equipment. It was also discovered that the furnished interior is not static. The floor plan of SCP-083 apparently changes, with a different layout and different numbers and kinds of rooms manifesting. No clear pattern or set interval has been observed in the rearrangement of the interior of SCP-083.
SCP-130 Object Class Euclid. SCP-130 is a post office in South Africa, constructed in 18... SCP-130 has been closed in and left abandoned for years. The building is in excellent condition for its age and maintains itself without human intervention, including moderate structural repairs. SCP-130 has been designated as a historic site through an agreement with the South African government. 5 times per week at local sunrise and sunset, several bags and boxes will appear in the mailroom. The bundles, designated SCP-132, will show only on weekdays, with the exception of current postal holidays for and bundles are to be handled as per special containment procedures as above. Inside the lobby, along with the post office boxes, is a slot labeled for outgoing mail. The slot is able to accept packages up to 40 centimeters wide and 6 centimeters high, with no apparent limit for length. Once inserted into the slot, packages disappear and will eventually turn up in the outgoing mail bundles if they have not done so previously. SCP-130 is to be staffed by 12 D-Class, 6 security agents, level 2 over 130, and 1 researcher, level 3 over 130, twice per day, starting at 1/2 hour before local sunrise and sunset. All staff are to be appropriately uniformed. When not staffed, 2 security agents will remain in the lobby, and 2 additional agents will patrol within the building. Agents are advised not to prevent people from entering the lobby, but to notify MTF Alpha 4, Pony Express, to intercept anyone who receives mail or a package. Twice per day, bundles SCP-132 will appear in the mailroom. The parcels within the bundles are sorted by uniformed staff in appropriate bags and placed in a designated vehicle for transport to site. Should mail arrive with the following addresses, follow procedure Franklin 16, detailed in Addendum 130-2. Otherwise, mail will be checked under standard practices for any items of interest.
SCP-413. Object Class: Safe. SCP-413 is a 4-story parking garage located in... Inside, SCP-413 has a variable environment that dynamically alters itself. In effect, SCP-413 is able to change its internal structure, such as moving ramps, adding floors, changing staircases, and so on. However, when observed from the outside, there is no indication of these changes taking place. While accurate measurement of SCP-413's interior has proven impossible, it is well established that the interior is larger than the building's external dimensions, and the internal dimensions are consistently changing. Another effect SCP-413 appears to have is to interfere with an individual's sense of direction. Analysis of recordings taken of the interior revealed that SCP-413 generates a low-frequency sound within its interior that shuts down or interferes with several key regions of the human brain controlling navigation, balance, and short-term memory. Extended exposure to this sound is known to cause several side effects, such as nausea, dizziness, vomiting, vertigo, anxiety, and claustrophobia. However, these effects will eventually wear off once the affected individual leaves SCP-413. SCP-413 is capable of independent thought and possesses human-level intelligence. Communication was initiated via the painted words and signs on SCP-413's walls, which it is able to manipulate to form individual words and sentences. Analysis of SCP-413's behavior suggests that it's highly mischievous and enjoys fooling around and playing pranks on the unexpected. However, it does take a great offense to being wronged and is shown to possess a vengeful and maybe even sadistic side. All entrances to SCP-413 are sealed and put under armed guard. Under no circumstances are unauthorized personnel allowed to enter SCP-413. Guards are authorized to use lethal force if necessary. Any personnel entering SCP-413 for experiments are required to wear GPS trackers and safety lines at all times. Should containment be breached, Containment Protocol 413 must be immediately enacted by the highest-ranking personnel present. SCP-413 was discovered when a security guard that worked at the site turned in security tapes of SCP-413 to the local police department, suspecting that they may be tampered with. The tapes were immediately confiscated, and the entire site was bought out by the Foundation.
SCP-26. Object Class Euclid. SCP-026 is a 3-story public school that opened in but was closed in 1986 because the floor plan didn't match the original blueprints of the building. This came to the Foundation's attention after a couple of missing persons were linked to the deserted structure. The edifice had been noticed to exhibit spatial anomalies. For example, the building is much larger on the internal than the outside shows. Hallways display variable lengths, while stairways have different numbers of steps going up or down. The number of rooms changes each time they are counted, and any attempt to reach the far end of the hallways have been met with failure. Entrance through the fire escapes located at the ends of the hallways lead to doors approximately midway down the length of the halls. There is considerable graffiti on the interior walls of the school. Most appear typical, including gang signs, names, and street art. However, the graffiti fades and reappears, changing location. Writing on chalkboards and bulletin boards changes in a similar fashion. Subjects typically found range from standard school subjects to more esoteric subjects, such as quantum entanglement and eugenics. One researcher reported one board detailing information about SCP, but photographic evidence showed only a blank slate. The phrase, "the children used to sing," has appeared multiple times in various places throughout the building, but there is currently no explanation for its significance. A number of unconscious subjects have been found in the building, mostly of high school age ranging from 12 to 18. They are dressed in accordance to the school's dress code circa. Several have been identified as former students or faculty of the school who disappeared after the school was shut down. All attempts to wake the subjects while inside the building have failed. On being removed from the grounds of SCP-26, the subjects wake abruptly, experiencing a period of confusion, then die from extreme rapid dehydration, followed by advanced decomposition. No useful intelligence has been recovered from the subjects to date. Several Class D personnel exposed to SCP-26 have disappeared from the Foundation control, only to reappear inside the anomalous building. SCP-26 is remained securely locked and boarded up at all times when there is no research ongoing. Alarms are set up to alert the Foundation in case of entry by civilians or other agencies.
SCP-1355. Object Class Euclid. SCP-1355 is a 1-story building located in the old school district of. Records recovered from the city's archives list the building as an elementary school scheduled for renovation. When initial investigations were carried out by the Foundation, SCP-1355 was currently being used as a temporary book storage site. As such, furnishings within SCP-1355 consist primarily of tables, small chairs, and numerous stacks of boxes containing textbooks. SCP-1355 is believed to be inhabited by a colony of life forms designated as SCP-1355-1.
Individuals of SCP-1355-1 are believed to be visually indistinguishable from the textbook containing boxes stored in SCP-1355. Thermal imaging has revealed that individuals of SCP-1355-1 possess a thermal signature similar to that of humans. However, the signature dissipates while SCP-1355-1 is in motion. Attempts to capture a specimen of SCP-1355-1 have failed. Subjects who encounter SCP-1355-1 report hearing multiple voices, often described as beautiful, and singing a song familiar to the subject. The music of SCP-1355-1 is observed to induce a sense of calmness in its subjects. Subjects recovered from SCP-1355 were rendered incapable of phonation or voicing. Resonance imaging has revealed the larynx of each subject to be missing. Notably, none of the subjects appear concerned or even aware of their loss. Subjects are convinced that they're able to use and hear their own voice, despite being informed otherwise. The property surrounding SCP-1355 is currently under Foundation management and is to remain fenced off under the guise of an ongoing renovation. A security perimeter patrolled by guards is maintained at all times, and any civilians attempting to approach SCP-1355 are to be turned away under the pretense of keeping the renovation site clear. As SCP-1355 possesses no windows, and equipment installed in SCP-1355 periodically malfunctions, the building is to be remotely monitored using thermal imaging. Due to the results of Incident 1355-123, as part of the safety measure 1355-A23, electricity is to be provided to the building. All lights within SCP-1355 are to remain on for 12 hours each day, operated by a switch box located outside of SCP-1355. A population count of SCP-1355-1 is carried out weekly.
SCP-2564 Object Class Safe. SCP-2564 is the former Willow Glen Community Hospital located at 2301 Virginia Street in Gary, Indiana, constructed from 1959 to 1964. Starting in 1974, a number of anomalous phenomena have manifested in SCP-2564, resulting in at least 5 fatalities and potentially several others. Persons associated with patients accepted to the hospital were statistically more likely to undergo a harmful or fatal accident at or near the hospital. Additionally, psychokinetic potential measurements taken in 2001 near SCP-2564 indicate there may still be continued activity. The hospital's former psychiatric ward, designated SCP-2564-1, housed a number of inpatients with unusually severe permanent mental illness from its construction until 1979, including POI 58436, who is currently in Foundation custody at Site 063. SCP-2564-1 was originally contained as SCP-2564 in August 1979. After it was brought to the attention of the Foundation by agents embedded within local law enforcement during investigation of Incident 2564-A, the psychiatric ward was closed and its inpatients moved to Foundation custody for screening, after which most were given amnestic therapy and moved to other facilities. After containment of SCP-2564-1, additional incidents, 2564-B through F, after the hospital led the Foundation to reclassify the entire building as SCP-2564 in December 1989. SCP-2564 was acquired by the Foundation in January 1990. The Foundation then closed the hospital, with the last patient gone in March 1990. after which Provisional Site 467 was established to contain SCP-2564. SCP-2564 is fenced off and contained within Provisional Site 467. Containment is managed from Site-81. The side perimeter and all rooms within SCP-2564 are kept under continuous CCTV surveillance. On-site security personnel are to monitor SCP-2564 and its perimeter to prevent accidental or intentional entry by unauthorized civilians. Any anomalous occurrences are to be reported immediately.
SCP-700. Object Class: Euclid. SCP-700 is a large, abandoned building, similar to a factory in its design, located in a rural area of USA. It contains 8 floors, with one being underground, each containing rooms. Many of these rooms are built in a way that does not appear to serve any specific purpose, containing, for example, redundant machinery, sewage pipes that are not connected to any kind of disposal unit, and numerous power cords extended across the room in a manner similar to sash cords. Graffiti pictures, designated as SCP-702, can be observed inside of SCP-700's rooms. They usually depict humanoid creatures, although animal figures were also observed. All instances of SCP-702 have shown the capacity to move around the walls of their rooms. Their frequency of movement varies depending on what room SCP-702 is located. It is currently unknown if the graffiti are sentient, but as their movement patterns are erratic, and considering that all attempts at communication with them have failed, it is assumed that they are not. Inside the central room of the underground floor is a circular hole designated as SCP-701. It's 10 meters deep with a radius of 1.5 meters. An iron hatch is connected to the hole, and there are 50 plastic syringes attached to the walls, all positioned 1 meter above the bottom of SCP-701. Removing the syringes from the wall is possible. However, new syringes will grow to replace the lost ones a few moments after their removal. The syringes at the bottom of SCP-701 are constantly producing a yellow liquid composed primarily of human menses. This mixture produces a fragrance that is deemed to be very attractive to all humans that come in contact with it. Upon smelling this fragrance for a small period of time, subjects will begin to unconsciously move towards SCP-701. If not stopped, they will throw themselves down SCP-701. The fall will usually result in fractured bones, but all observed subjects seem to be unaware of this. After a human falls inside of SCP-701, the hatch will automatically close, and loud mechanical sounds will be heard coming from an undetermined place within SCP-700 itself. At this point, opening SCP-701's hatch will reveal a solid concrete floor instead of the hole, and will also bring the sounds to a halt. Approximately 10 minutes after closing, SCP-701 will reopen by itself, revealing the hole once more, but the human inside will have disappeared. During the tests, all recording devices, such as cameras placed inside of SCP-701, were destroyed by unknown means as soon as the hatch closed. Hours after the disappearance of the subject, a new instance of SCP-702 will be found in one of SCP-700's rooms. As SCP-700 is immobile, one security team is permanently placed at the site to prevent the entrance of civilians and unauthorized personnel. SCP-700 came to the attention of the Foundation after various reports of a man called Mr. selling living art painted on concrete blocks. When confronted by Foundation personnel, Mr. attempted to flee and injured one agent before killing himself when it became clear that he could not escape. The coordinates for the location of the building were found at his house, and the Foundation was able to find and destroy the blocks that Mr. had sold. The owners of the blocks were given Class B amnesiacs. SCP-1775. Object Class Euclid. SCP-1775 is an abandoned department store located in Detroit, Michigan. SCP-1775 was closed in 1979 and shows wear and damage typical of Detroit's urban decay, with interior support beams and ceilings in advanced stages of neglect. Although similar in appearance and condition to other abandoned buildings in the Detroit area, SCP-1775 is distinguishable by the lack of any evidence of impromptu human habitation, such as trash or makeshift bedding. SCP-1775's anomalous properties manifest between the hours of 0900 and 2000 every day of the week, excluding Sunday. During this time, the damage to its interior will be repaired, restoring it to near perfect condition. Walls will be repainted, crumbling support beams will be restored, etc. Despite these cosmetic changes, the interior of SCP-1775 will remain devoid of any material not present prior to the activation event, with the exception of SCP-1775-X. SCP-1775-X, where X designates a number, are a series of humanoid spectral entities that manifest within the interior of SCP-1775 during an activation event. Aside from occasional deviations, SCP-1775-X instances follow a pattern of behavior during all activation events. All attempts to interact with or directly alter their behavior patterns have failed due to their intangible natures. After the cessation of an SCP-1775 activation event at 2000 hours, SCP-1775-X instances will vanish, and the interior of SCP-1775 will once again resemble its inactive state. Attempts to observe SCP-1775 during this transition have all been met with failure. Recording equipment, including personnel tracking devices, placed in the interior will spontaneously fail. SCP-1775 has been designated as a condemned building. A barbed wire fence has been constructed around a 20-meter radius to deter unauthorized access. Inquiries into the status of SCP-1775 are to be fielded by Samuel Clark Properties, a Foundation construction front. During SCP-1775's active phase, researchers monitor SCP-1775-X instances for any deviations in movement or behavioral patterns, and should any deviations be noted, the current head researcher of SCP-1775 is to be informed without delay.
SCP-1611. Object Class Euclid. SCP-1611 is an apartment located within the Hotel in Miami, Florida. SCP-1611's interior has never been directly observed. However, it's believed to have existed in its current state since 1989. SCP-1611-1 appears to be a young woman with distorted facial features and damaged clothing. SCP-1611-1 resembles the last known resident of SCP-1611. When the subject approaches the stairwell leading to SCP-1611, SCP-1611-1 will crawl out of SCP-1611 and attempt to address them. SCP-1611-1 will claim it has suffered a terrible injury or illness, and that the subject must assist them. As the subject approaches, it will move back into SCP-1611. If the subject enters SCP-1611, the door leading to it will shut for 24 hours. Any visual recording devices brought in by the subject will cease functioning, while audio recordings will be heavily distorted. Audio recorded from within SCP-1611 indicates that the subject is integrated by an entity within SCP-1611, with repeated references to sickness, and these sounds cannot be heard from outside SCP-1611. After 24 hours, portions of the subject will be ejected from SCP-1611. They will usually be missing one or more internal organs, in addition to epidermal tissue, skeletal structure, and bodily fluids. Testing to view the interior of SCP-1611 is ongoing. SCP-1611 was discovered on January 23, 1989, when 11 people staying at the Free Hotel went missing over a 1-month period. Agents were dispatched to investigate and were able to discover SCP-1611's anomalous properties. A cover story was released, with the cause of death listed as carbon monoxide poisoning. The hotel was condemned and converted to contain SCP-1611. As of March 14, 1989, SCP-1611 has been classified as Euclid. The area in which SCP-1611 manifests is sealed off and designated as its containment chamber. No personnel are permitted to enter SCP-1611's containment chamber, with D-Class access permitted for test purposes. In the event that SCP-1611 begins speaking, on-site sound dampening speakers are to be activated until it ceases.
SCP-491. Object Class Euclid. SCP-491 is a lighthouse built in the early 20th century located in Nova Scotia. The ocean floor surrounding SCP-491 contains numerous wrecked ships, which vary in time of origin, ranging from 1923 to 1987. The area within the perimeter of SCP-491 is subject to spontaneous change caused by minor 3.5 earthquakes. The alterations caused to the topography of the seabed are greater than expected for earthquakes of these magnitudes. These earthquakes result in the production of large rocks or shallows in the path of an incoming vessel, inevitably sinking it. At random intervals, SCP-491's lamp will activate, producing a green light that rotates at 6 revolutions per minute. Any area of the surrounding sea illuminated by this light will evince several ships identical to those present on the sea floor. These new ships retain the damage inflicted upon them and begin to take on water at a slower rate than non-anomalous counterparts. Displacement of water, evidenced by testing, has shown that these ships are physical in nature. These ships only last for a short period, due to the rate at which SCP-419's lamp rotates. The interior of SCP-419 shows no anomalous effects, and is typically of a lighthouse built in that era. The lamp room contains a mesoradial Fresnel lens lit by a Dalen light. Complete removal of lighting components did not prevent activation. A 1 kilometer perimeter is maintained at all times for the purpose of preventing sea vessels access to the effects of SCP-491. Any intruders are questioned to ascertain their intent, then given Class B amnestics and released.
SCP-398. Object Class Euclid. SCP-398 appears to all subjects as a hallway of some description. However, details differ between accounts. It's first seen as a hallway with white walls and plain wooden doors about 20 meters apart and approximately 2 meters high, with brass handles and no special attributes visible. This is a detail consistent across all accounts. SCP-398 is contained behind a reverse airlock-style containment chamber locking mechanism consisting of at least 3 doors and an atmospheric reduction system. A minimum of 2 guards must be stationed at the doors, remaining at a 50-meter distance from the entrance to the SCP. SCP-398 was found on location at, and upon investigation, a dimensional containment site was set up around it. The remainder of the original building surrounding it is unremarkable and has been demolished as such. SCP-487. Object Class Euclid. SCP-487 is a house located in the northeastern United States. The exact appearance and architecture of SCP-487 is impossible to definitively describe, as it constantly changes its appearance and structure depending on the arrangement of the items within it. Within SCP-487 are roughly 3,294 items of occult or other superstitious origins. These items are carefully arranged throughout SCP-487 according to strict Feng Shui principles. It has been theorized by Dr. that these items are in such close proximity and are arranged in such a particular way that they create a synergistic effect that allows SCP-487 to bend or even violate the rules of physics. Initial testing by modifying the arrangement of certain items within SCP-487 appears to support this hypothesis. According to historical records, SCP-487 was built in and was owned by various families and individuals. Through coincidence or premeditation, every owner had spent their entire lives then collecting numerous items of occult or superstitious origins. Background checks of all previous owners reveal nothing suspicious or out of the ordinary other than the apparent compulsion to collect said items. After the unauthorized removal of items 991 and 1074, tracking satellites detected a massive accumulation of thermal energy just beneath the Earth's surface, centered around SCP-487's general location. The anomalous energy readings immediately dissipated once the missing items were returned to their original locations. SCP-487 is surrounded by an 8.05 kilometer buffer zone purchased by the Foundation under the guise of a private ranch. The perimeter of the buffer zone is patrolled by Level 2 security personnel under orders to terminate unauthorized intruders on site. The perimeter security forces are also under orders not to enter the buffer zone under any circumstances. Access to SCP-487 is only permitted to staff with a security clearance of Level 3 or higher. While within SCP-487, all personnel are strictly forbidden to move any item, unless they are under direct orders to do so, or if it is part of a current experiment. Any unauthorized change in the position of any of the items within SCP-487 must be immediately logged, and all personnel within SCP-487 must follow standard evacuation procedures. Should containment protocols be compromised, any surviving Level 4 personnel are authorized to engage the containment failsafe. This will consist of demolition charges placed outside of SCP-487.
SCP-470 Object Class Euclid. SCP-470 appears to be a large abandoned office building in Japan. SCP-470 has had no registered owner since 2001, when it was abandoned within the collapse of the corporation. The building has 7 floors, including basement levels, and in a general state of disrepair consistent with its term of abandonment. SCP-470 appears to be, or houses, a dimensional anomaly, causing its internal rooms to shift and become other locations that have been abandoned for extended periods of time. The ability for an outside location to appear within SCP-470 appears to manifest after 20 and 30 years of little to no human observation, interaction, or habitation. This anomaly appears to be limited to the rooms of SCP-470, with the halls remaining primarily stable. The rooms of SCP-470 appear to exist both in their original physical location and within SCP-470 simultaneously. All rooms appear to be internal locations, such as storerooms, abandoned offices, and factory areas, with no external locations such as abandoned lots or storage yards ever recording manifesting inside SCP-470. Manifested rooms appear to be cut off from their original surrounding locations, with all doors besides the entry door opening up to blank brick walls of the same construction as SCP-470. These locations appear to be unstable and will flicker, ceasing to exist within SCP-470 at random points, and remaining unmanifested for random periods of time before manifesting within SCP-470 again. Anything inside a room when it unmanifests itself will be transported with the room to its original physical location. This process also works in reverse, as any objects inside the room will be present when it manifests inside SCP-470. The flicker rate appears to vary between several years to 6 seconds. Initially, rooms are able to shift only when no humans are present or actively observing the area. After long periods of abandonment, rooms are capable of shifting with as many as 14 people inside. The danger of SCP-470 comes from the fact that some of the rooms do not appear to originate in our reality, dimension, or time-space. Some are constructed of non-terrestrial elements or have items that parallel with no known technology or construction. Also, there have been 4 recorded escapes by beings transported by shifting rooms within SCP-470. Notably, Subject R remains at large within SCP-470 itself, and is thought to be responsible for some of the deaths recorded inside SCP-470. The death toll currently stands at 8 staff and 45 civilians at last estimation, with several hundred more listed as missing. Many of the civilian deaths and disappearances are attributable to youths exploring abandoned areas when they shift into SCP-470, becoming trapped inside, shifting inside a different room, or other dangers that may be inside manifesting rooms. Anything entering SCP-470 must be examined both before and after contact. Anything exiting SCP-470 is to be contained and examined. Resistance by any items or staff to this process may be overcome by whatever means deemed necessary by Site Command. Any staff entering SCP-470 are equipped with a long-range GPS tracking bug. Staff entering SCP-470 remain in groups of no less than 20 at all times. Should staff become separated, or any combination thereof, they are immediately told to exit SCP-470. Staff or equipment lost within SCP-470 are declared missing 48 hours after loss of GPS contact. Staff or equipment located after disappearance of GPS contact are recovered whenever possible.
SCP-358 Object Class Euclid. SCP-358 is an abandoned trauma center located on the outskirts of... The grounds surrounding the building are overgrown, with vegetation native to the area and characteristic of extreme neglect. The building's exterior is weathered but otherwise intact, with windows and entrances boarded up to prevent trespassing and vandalism. Air inside is arid, measured on average at 45 degrees Celsius, with hot or dry gusts of air that blow through the hallways from no discernible source. Exploration and monitoring have revealed anomalous activity characteristic of typical Type 3 pseudo-spiritual manifestation, haunting, ranging from glowing spheres to full-body apparitions, all of which appear exhausted and, on occasion, ask for water. Recognizable apparitions appear to be individuals who have been exposed to SCP-358 beyond the average 47-minute psychological recoverability point in the past. The majority of these subjects reside in the Foundation, physiological observational facilities, and security footage shows them present in their respective units during the appearance of their apparitions within SCP-358. In the majority of cases, individuals within SCP-358 experience a sense of disorientation upon entering the building, which slowly diminishes over time spent within SCP-358. Additionally, they report a growing sense of thirst, which begins to coincide with physical symptoms suggestive of extreme dehydration and heat exhaustion. These symptoms are not alleviated by hydration, even using a direct intravenous drip. As exposure time continues, the exposed individual will show a slowly increasing degree of mental degradation typical of heat stroke, which leads to an exponentially increasing degree of dissociative disorder. On average, no effective individual remaining within SCP-358 is considered physiologically recoverable beyond 47 minutes of exposure. On rare occasions, affected subjects within SCP-358 expire suddenly of apparent poisoning. Autopsy in these cases always reveals the venom of one or more common North American desert-dwelling predators in the bloodstream, usually that of the western diamondback rattlesnake. Due to the mental side effects of SCP-358, 358 is kept locked at all times except during testing, and all windows are to remain boarded, with regular guard patrols to ensure that no unauthorized entry occurs. The entirety of the building is sealed airtight, and any leaks are reported immediately along with any signs of forced entry. Anyone found inside the building with reasons other than testing are evacuated immediately and held for questioning and observation. SCP-358 was discovered by the SCP Foundation in 1983 when two males, aged 20 and 22, were apprehended for trespassing after being found wandering its premises, unaware of their surroundings by local law enforcement. Medical examination revealed only physical side effects, similar to exposure to a desert setting. The physiological evaluations of each person revealed a loss in mental capacity regarding self-identification and location. A follow-up of a CT scan revealed nothing out of the ordinary. The police and medical reports were collected by SCP Foundation personnel, which led to the current testing of SCP-358.
SCP-1461. Object Class Euclid. SCP-1461 is an English manor circa 1890 with attached sublevels. It came to the Foundation's attention on November 1941 when the dwelling and its sublevel facilities vanished, then rematerialized after an 11-day period of absence. The surface portion of SCP-1461 is a 2-level dwelling with 12 bedrooms, 4 baths, 3 studies, a main foyer/ballroom, a library, a kitchen, and a pantry basement. Most of these rooms were converted into a simple barracks prior to Foundation acquisition and are believed to have been dwellings for the cult. Site 6 staff have reinforced the structure and used the available space to house monitoring rooms and security forces. No anomalous activity has ever originated from the manor itself. The sub-level facilities are accessible through the manor's basement. The layout and size of the sub-level facilities has yet to be accurately measured due to the anomalous qualities of the facility and hostile entities within. The facility is constructed primarily from concrete, iron, and brass, but also a number of exotic and unknown materials. The layout of the facility follows illogical routes and architecture. For example, doorways open into solid walls, or open chasms and stairwells ascend into empty spaces. The facilities also contain a wide array of anomalous artifacts, both active and neutralized. The sub-level facilities are extremely hazardous, with an extensive array of moving mechanical apparatuses, gearworks, pistons, steam pipes, and coolant tubes that lack appropriate safety measures. The machinery is maintained by a strategic placement of nozzles that dispense a black, mucus-like substance which is highly corrosive to organic materials, but also serves as a coolant and lubricant. SCP-1461 contains approximately 57 humanoid entities, including 7 former Foundation personnel designated as SCP-1461-1. These entities, through an unknown process, have been augmented with crude mechanical implants in an as-of-yet undiscovered section of SCP-1461. Each instance of SCP-1461-1 has been uniquely augmented, with little uniformity between them. SCP-1461-1 appears to possess no higher brain functions or retain any sense of self, acting entirely on canine levels of instinct and intelligence. All instances of SCP-1461-1 are considered extremely hostile. It's theorized that SCP-1461 itself may command SCP-1461-1. The speaking tube system throughout the facility has been observed emitting loud metallic shrieks that cause SCP-1461-1 to retreat from an area. Site 6 has been constructed around SCP-1461. Task Force Lambda is on permanent assignment to reinforce Site 6 security. Any unusual activity from SCP-1461 is reported to on-site Level 4 supervisors who implement A4-7 daybreak procedures at their discretion. Any operatives entering SCP-1461 are fitted with full nuclear, biological, chemical, anomalous protection, and armed escorts. SCP-1461 is considered a high-priority target for the organization known as the Church of the Broken God, who have made attempts to breach Site-6 and access SCP-1461 since
SCP-450. Object Class Euclid. SCP-450 is the death row block of the abandoned federal penitentiary and distance from entrance to the execution chamber is approximately 166.5 meters. A complex pattern, drawn in human blood, is located on the wall behind the electric chair. This pattern slowly degrades over time due to normal environmental decay and must be maintained regularly. The cell block is inhabited by what appears to be one or more hostile spectral entities. Attracting the attention of said entities is invariably fatal and may or may not occur due to one of the following criteria: entering the cell block by any means other than the main door, moving at a speed greater than 0.25 meters per second, staying in the cell block for more than 25 minutes at a time, entering the cell block more than once every 24 hours, operating any electronic device, any sound louder than 25 decibels. Personnel assigned to maintain the containment pattern are instructed to silently walk down the center of the main hallway at a slow but steady pace, as it takes approximately 11 minutes to walk to the execution chamber at maximum safe rate of travel. Personnel will have only 3 minutes to work on the pattern and still have enough time to reasonably guarantee a safe exit from the facility. Auditory and visual hallucinations, including spectral voices, bleeding walls, and poltergeist activity, are considered normal. Lack of sane is cause for concern. Personnel are encouraged not to investigate any dead bodies, supernatural activity, or rotting remains. SCP-450 is kept locked and secured at all times, except for monthly maintenance and cleaning as detailed below. Any civilians or personnel who enter SCP-450 at any other time are considered lost, and no rescue attempts are to be made.
SCP-2244. Object Class Keter. SCP-2244-1 is a 4-story office building located in Miami, Florida, belonging to the Sunset Community Foundation, a registered 501 non-profit organization providing technological components and computer skills training to underprivileged individuals. Prior to 2014, this organization did not exist. Despite this, all records pertaining to the SEF indicate they have existed in Miami, Florida since 1971 and included legitimate registration and tax-exempt application forms, as well as grant records maintained by other businesses, organizations, and corporations. Instances of SCP-2244-2 are employees of the Sunset Community Foundation. All observed instances appear to be human females between the ages of 14 and 70. No instance of SCP-2244-2 can be accounted for prior to 2014, nor appear to have any roots in the community, nor any records of birth, residence, or home ownership. None of these employees have been observed residing in any location other than SCP-2244-1 for a period of time exceeding 3 to 4 hours. While not hostile, SCP-2244-2 subjects have consistently refused all entry into SCP-2244-1 and have refused to answer questions regarding their company, in either a formal or informal context. Attempts by agents to trail and/or befriend subjects have been unsuccessful in yielding any information. Instead, Foundation personnel on Site-692 are limited to outside observation of the building. All windows display unoccupied offices and are sealed shut, disallowing any further observation deeper into the building. All entryways into SCP-2244-1 are locked or otherwise guarded by instances of SCP-2244-2. As of October 30th, 2014, 2 SCP-2244-2 subjects have become aware of Foundation surveillance and inquiry attempts. Subjects have allowed brief interviews by Foundation personnel to answer questions relating to the safety and security of their work, although little else has been discussed. SCP-2244 and all instances of SCP-2244-2 are off limits to all Foundation personnel unless explicitly authorized by Order 4408A7, signed by at least 305 personnel and both Site-692 administrators. Personnel who violate these conditions of interaction are subject to severe disciplinary action, including termination of employment and administration of amnestics. All observations of SCP-2244-1 or SCP-2244-2 are to be logged with both site administrators. Should an instance of SCP-2244-2 become aware of observation, Foundation personnel are to abort their task and vacate the area, if practicable.
SCP-001 Object Class Keter. SCP-01 is a factory that was created in 1835 to produce items for the general public. It was owned by James Anderson and was once used to take care of everything, even housing the workers that worked there. Reports indicated that the workers were overworked, with poor living conditions and no medical attention. The Foundation was created by the government to contain SCP-01 after Anderson got out of hand with his products and began experimenting with the workers. A report details the founding and later breakup of the original O5 Council, which also includes the creation of some of the Foundation's other SCPs. As of March 14, 1921, unknown entities nicknamed Fairies had materialized from SCP-01 and eviscerated the workers of SCP-01 and most of the SCP Foundation. Dr. Bright, one of the survivors, has explained that he was able to escape and found a satanic entity in one of the rooms. He said he struck a deal with the entity in eliminating the fairies from destroying SCP-01. Bright also explains that SCP-01 has to be fed one human a day, and someone has to continue the ritual if he dies. Bright believes the fairies may come back if no one feeds SCP-01. SCP-01 is kept in an isolated area on Site-10. The grounds and exterior are monitored at all times, and on no account is any personnel allowed inside SCP-01 without the approval of Dr. Bright. Any sound emanated from SCP-01 should be reported immediately.